Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, and in today's review we're going to be taking a look at the second to last Constructicon, that being the Transformers Studio Series Voyager class Scrapper. One of the figures that I was most looking forward to out of this Wave 9 Voyager class assortment from the Studio Series, as Scrapper is a really interesting looking Decepticon and Constructicon, and although we didn't really get a great glimpse of him in the movie, I've always been a fan of the rather Munchkin-esque head design that he had, as well as the mace hands that he used in order to attack Sam and Michaela with. Now, before we take a detailed look at Scrapper himself, I'm very briefly going to be showcasing you the packaging. For the packaging of Scrapper, we've got a really awesome CGI render of the character on the front of the packaging, giving us a great look, probably our best look at this character's design in a very long time. The side of the packaging just has an up-close image of the face of Scrapper, and then the back of the box showcases product images of the figure in robot mode as well as in vehicle mode, and then here on the other side we just have an up-close image of Devastator. I won't be showcasing the backdrop, as it is merely the same backdrop that we've got with all of the Constructicons so far, that being the desert battle scene where Devastator combines into a huge gigantuan vacuum. And here we have Voyager class Scrapper in his vehicle mode. Now we can see here that he has got some fantastic detailings. Despite this figure being only a Voyager class, I really think Hasbro have pulled out all the stops on their Constructicon figures, and Scrapper is no exception. We've got some nice gunmetal paint apps here for the hydraulics and pistons of this entire armature mechanism, which can in fact lift, so it does in fact work like a real life scoop for a construction vehicle would, and it isn't compromised by transformation nor the robot mode kibble, so that is a really nice attention to detail. We can see that we've got loads of different sculpted in hydraulics and different pistons, as well as some different pipes and vents going on, which I think looks quite nice. A very similar metallic blue paint app here used for the windscreen at the top that we saw on Rampage, which too is quite a nice inclusion. Loads of sculpted detailings here. I do really like the gunmetal silver that they've used for the hubcaps of the vehicle mode, and all of these are in fact painted and have all been exceptionally well placed with pin joints rather than mushroom pegs. If you've followed my channel extensively, you know that I hate nothing more than when they peg on mushroom peg wheels on figures. I just don't think that they roll incredibly well, whereas here, quite honestly, Scrapper has no problems rolling whatsoever, so that's a really cool attention to detail. Some more detailing under there as well, and then on the back we do in fact have the combiner port that will be used when we plug this into Devastator. So overall, definitely a really solid, very nice looking construction vehicle, and just to show you how solid he truly is, let's bring out some of the other Constructicon figures that we have so far. So for comparison, I'm actually going to be showcasing you Scrapper along with some of the other Voyagers, at least all of the Voyagers that we've got for this line so far for the Constructicon assortment. We can see here that he is more or less exactly the same size as Rampage, and they really do feel like very solid, very durable Voyager class figures. Just zooming out ever so slightly so that you can get a better look of how these two look together. I think that they both look incredible. Really nice unity to these construction vehicles. Bringing in Mixmaster here, I think the size here works really well. I'm not really entirely sure of how big this vehicle would be. I think that perhaps it scales quite nicely with Rampage. I'm not sure whether it would scale too well with Longhaul, as I know the construction vehicle that Longhaul is absolutely gigantuan, but we can see that definitely a very nice Voyager. Not as heavy as Longhaul, but definitely has as many areas of detail that Longhaul has. So really and truly a very nice looking Voyager, and does follow suit with the other construction vehicles that we've seen so far. Now, before I transform Scrapper from vehicle mode into robot mode, I'm going to be showcasing you the transformation from vehicle mode into the arm configuration for Devastator. So to begin with, we just want to bring this heavy duty ratchet joint out to the sides. We can then disengage these wheel pieces here and begin to just pull those out ever so slightly. What we can now proceed to do is in fact come to the front section here and just separate this joint here, separate this. You're going to want to take this and collapse it, and then bring this down, and then bring these prongs out to the sides, and then just close those into the middle. We can then take these pieces here and rotate these up, and rotate this side up as well. Take this piece. Now, to me, this doesn't really add a whole lot to the overall look, but this is what the instructions tell you to do. Just simply untap this here and just have it resting like that. I think that's probably to give it a more transformed S type of look. Just angle these fingers in a way that would look rather accurate to the movie. We can then take these wheels now, and you can see this slot here that will in fact peg into this tab here. So this is the new place that this will take for the Devastator combined mode. So just peg that into place. And that is effectively the Scrapper transformation for Devastator's arm. So you can see that really and truly it's not much different than when we had him in vehicle mode. We now just have the entire fingers, which I think look quite nice. And you can bring these in to give us that more tripod-esque type of look that we see in the movie. And I'm going to actually show you how to insert this onto Scavenger right now. So bringing out the Mixmaster and Scavenger combo, you simply just want to align this mushroom peg up with the slot that's on Scavenger's elbow, and then just tab this in. It is quite a tight fit. Make sure that that lips over the top. And here we have Scavenger wielding, or should I say combining with Scrapper in order to form the final arm for Devastator. This arm for the moment is transformed into robot mode, as I'm going to be giving you some cool comparisons between Scrapper in robot mode, but definitely a really cool looking arm. Out of the two arms that we do in fact get, this is by far my favorite, and the ratchet joint is so heavy duty on this one, a lot stiffer and tighter than the one we got with the Hightower and Scrap Metal combo. So definitely a really cool arm mode. Without further ado though, let's get this transformed up into the robot mode. So now to transform Scrapper into robot mode, first of all we're going to want to unpeg these sections here and just bring those out to the sides and lift those upwards. We can then take this section here and collapse this down and just leave this like that for now. Come to these sections here and just unpeg the wheels. Now what we can do is rotate this all the way around and then rotate this side around as well. With that now done, we can bring this up and bring this tyre in, allowing for clearance for this to pass it and then just overlap. Now what we can do is rotate this around and we can see that this tab here will in fact plug into this slot. So just snap that into place and then rotate to this side and repeat the same process. So collapse the wheel down, bring this over the top, rotate this panel around, lift this up, and then we can see that tab and slot. So just peg that into place. Now what we're going to want to do with this piece here is open it and then bring it over, and we can see that this tab will peg into this slot. So just snap that into place, and that is one whole leg of Scrapper fully transformed. Repeat the same process. So if this isn't opened, open it and then just collapse it in upon itself. And then here we have the legs, so we can rotate these down. For now, working our way up to the top of the figure, what we can do here is loosen up this section and then bring these pieces apart, untab those, and these are actually connected into this here. So you are going to want to lift this and pull it outwards. You can see that this tab does plug into this slot. So repeat the same process and just pull this all out here. Bring this down now and tab that into place. We can now bring this ratchet joint more or less all the way down. I would say to about this degree, as this is actually going to tuck into this cavity. So come to the front now, lift this up, push your finger through the back and just pop out the head. So pull this back, pop out the head and rotate this all in. Perhaps the ratchet joint should be more or less in this position. Maybe one more click, push this all in, make sure the arms are out of the way, and then tab these in via this slot and this tab. Peg that in, peg this in, come to the front now, tab this in, and then it's just a matter of aligning the arms up, bring out these prongs on either side, and then rotate this arm around, just position Scrapper's head. And that is the full transformation from vehicle mode to robot mode on the Transformers Constructicon Voyager class Scrapper, and I think that he looks absolutely incredible within this form as well. So as stated previously, all of the Constructicons for me have been incredibly solid. All of them look really faithful to the movie, and although Scrapper didn't appear for too long in the movie, he was in it for a rather brief scene, and from that scene I can tell that this figure is really accurate, and definitely when comparing this to some of the concept art that we got, I can really see that Hasbro paid a lot of attention to detail with this. The back is incredibly clean. I think that the whole design of the feet is really well done, how this tyre actually situates towards where the heel spur is. I love all of the mechanical detailing and the gunmetal paint apps that we've got, and quite frankly the hiding and the engineering of where they've actually hidden this combiner port really is mesmerizing. I cannot believe that they did convey this and hide it so well within this mode. I like how it tucks within the torso, and even in the torso we've got some nice gunmetal detailings. Talking of details, let's bring this in for a closer look. I think that the head sculpt is very accurate to the movie, very compressed and very ugly in its design, with some nice eyes picked out in a red paint and a nice gunmetal paint app here. The whole head does appear to have been painted in a yellow paint app, and I think that it's quite a nice colour match for the actual base yellow plastic that they've used. There's some nice gunmetal paint apps all the way throughout this figure, so we've got some here on the neck, loads here for the torso, picking out some of that fantastic mechanical detailing and just Bayverse detail, which I love. Some nice black paint apps here for the main torso, picking out all of the hydraulics. All these different pistons and tubings. We've got the smokestacks that flare out to the top, which look fantastic, as well as some pipes here for the torso. I do like the asymmetrical nature of the figure as well. So for this arm, we do have that wrecking ball that we saw him use in order to deter Sam and Michaela, whereas this one here acts more like a claw weapon. I guess he could use this as a whip as well, and I think that's probably the idea that Hasbro were going with, but quite a nice looking design. As we turn our attention down to the legs, he has got almost chicken legs, which was a thing that we saw throughout all of the Bayformer Decepticons. And even here on the grey plastic, we've got some nice hydraulic details. And as stated previously, I'm a massive fan of how they've got the wheels to actually situate in the heel spurs, and how the main front scoop actually become the front toes of the figure. I stated when I first saw this figure at Wonder Festival that this could potentially be my favourite Constructicon, and at the moment it's definitely looking that way. This is a fantastic entry into the Studio Series line. All three modes are really, really solid, and I quite honestly am probably going to get two of this figure, one to display in the Devastator mode and then one to display in his robot mode. He's that well done. Now turning to articulation, the figure does in fact have a hinge joint at the neck which allows the head to look left to right. There's also a separate ball joint which allows the head to rotate 360 as well as look up and down. The neck is also on a hinge joint due to transformation, so that can lift forward and backwards. The arms can rotate left to right, not too much degree of motion here, as they do tend to bump into the smokestacks. They can hinge out to the sides, full 360 rotation at the bicep. Double joints here at the elbow, so one's joint there and then a second joint here. This whole mace section is also on its own individual joint, and then the same is more or less for this arm, only where this section extends we do get a rotation joint here as well as a hinge joint for this piece, and the claws or the prongs can in fact articulate on pin joints. No waist articulation unfortunately, but due to the nature of the transformation, this is a compromise that I'm really suffice with. The legs can kick forwards that far to a great degree and back to that far. There is no form of splits on the figure, which I believe is the first time we've ever had this on a figure for a really long time, but once again, it doesn't bother me too much. Full 360 rotation at the thigh as well as just a bend at the knee, not really even 90 degrees, but it's a nice enough bend to get some nice poses. And finally, due to the way this all transforms, the foot is completely locked. So although it's not the most articulated Voyager, quite frankly, Scrapper was one of those characters that we didn't see a lot of and merely just whipped around his mace and chain, but I think that he more than makes up with it in terms of his overall look and movie accuracy. For a quick Constructicon size comparison, here we have Voyager Scrapper compared next to Voyager Mixmaster. I think the scale here works quite nicely. Of course, Mixmaster is rather squat, but the plastic quantity seems to be there, if not Scrapper being heftier than Mixmaster. I will do a complete set of 8 size comparisons when we do eventually get Overload, so definitely stay tuned for that. But in terms of this scale, I'm more than suffice with this, and you can see Scrapper here is a great Voyager class scale. So that was my review on the Transformers Studio Series Constructicon Voyager class Scrapper. If you haven't guessed already, as with the majority of these Constructicon reviews, Scrapper is an excellent entry into the Studio Series line. I think that all 3 modes are astounding, specifically the robot mode and the vehicle mode. The hand mode too, I think once we get all the components to Devastator, is really going to look fantastic, and as stated previously, it's definitely leaps and bounds better than the scrap metal and high tower combo in my opinion. Whilst articulation may not necessarily be there too much for Scrapper in robot mode, I think he has enough to get a decent amount of poses out of him, and I think that he more than makes up for it in terms of the proportions and the level of movie accuracy detailing. The transformation is fun, it's not too complex, and it does allow for ease transforming from either of the modes, which is great. So overall, just a fantastic new Voyager figure. I highly recommend him, and definitely stay tuned for some of my other upcoming Transformers Studio Series reviews. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please let me know down in the comment section below, and until my next video, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.